Hey everybody, welcome to the iProv vlog, where we help business leaders grow their business. I'm Jordan Smith, and as always, I'm joined by Patrick Laughlin, COO of iProv. What's up, Pat?
What's up, Joe? How are you today?
I'm good. We're talking about a subject that is very interesting to me as a big extrovert, which are the 5 advantages of having introverts on your team.
Yeah, and this came from one of our team members. This was an idea that they had, and she is a self-proclaimed introvert, and so I think that she sort of wanted to hear our take on it. So I'm more than happy to sort of walk through that. You know, as somebody who is an adapted extrovert, because you know the truth is I'm an introvert at heart. This is pretty interesting stuff. You know. I certainly learned a lot researching this topic because this is not something that I've dived very deep into.
Well, I think a lot of people, you know, the assumption is the best leaders are those like extroverted leaders, the charismatic, you know. I don't have to convince you to get behind me. All I need is 5 minutes in a room with me, and you know we're both planting the same flag. But that's not necessarily the case. We all know, speaking as an extrovert, I can say this, we all know a lot of terrible leaders that are extroverts.
Yeah, there are lots and lots of very loud leaders that are not very good at, you know, actually doing anything. And the truth is, you know, extroverts are the ones that get the attention very often. But if you look at the most productive people in your shop, I bet you'll find that there are a whole lot of introverts in that category. So some of your real MVPs are the ones that just put their head down, are very intentional and thoughtful about doing the work day in and day out. And you know, I think that is incredibly powerful. And you know, I think that introverts sort of get sort of a lot of negative press because. Maybe they're not likely to stand up for themselves. Maybe they're, you know, sort of in other people's shadows. But you know, the truth is, it's just a part of who you are. It's not like it's a mental health condition. It's just the way you're wired. And you know, the best explanation I've ever heard for the difference between an introvert and an extrovert is, you know, guys like you, they go to a party and they get their energy from talking to 50 different people. And the truth is, you know, introverts, guys like me, they go to a party, and if they're well adapted, they can survive it. But the truth is, they'd rather be at home reading a good book alone with their thoughts, and that's that is what really replenishes sort of their well-being. Right. Well,
either that or, like, you know, spending quality, like having a deep one-on-one conversation with somebody instead of bouncing around the room and you know, I walk in a room full of people and I feel like I've got to spend a little bit of time with all of them. Do any of them get any meaningful interaction of that? Fills up my battery. I don't know. Introverts are different, you know, where you can, so it's not a deficiency, it's a personality trait that if you work to, just like anything else, if you work to kind of foster growth within that, knowing the type of individual that they are, you can get a lot of good stuff. And the first point is they're great listeners. All the introverts that I've ever managed, what I love is you tell them once, maybe twice, they get it, right?
Yeah, I mean they're like sponges. They just absorb what they're being told. They process it, and then, you know, usually the output is tremendous because they've truly listened, not just heard. They sort of take to heart what the other person has said, and they deliver exactly what was asked for. So yeah, definitely listening is a core strength of introverts. You know, the thing that I love about them is, you know, typically they're the most reliable people on a team. You know, it's just, you can always trust them. Once again, it goes back to the listening, that they have not only heard what you have said, but they have listened and thoughtfully processed it. And so you know that when you told somebody that sort of fits that model, something that you'd like them to do, they will do it, you know, to exactly your specifications, and you know, provide you what you've asked for, which is great.
Well, even more often than not, is they seem to, a lot of extroverts, and again, speaking as an extrovert, I can say this to everybody, we are very much like squirrels. It's what's that new shiny thing? Introverts they're a lot less impulsive in a work environment than a lot of extroverts, and you'll tend to see those with the headphones on and they're dialed in, but they are dialed in.
Yeah, I like having introverts in the meeting too, because you can always sort of read their body language, and they instinctively sort of know when you're pushing the envelope too hard. And so by being able to read the extrovert in the room, you can sort of figure out where the line with the other people in the room is. So that is incredibly helpful, at least from a sales or a pitch perspective too in our business.
Yeah, I'll tell you the third thing that we talk about quite a bit is they are often the most thoughtful and thought-provoking leaders in your organization.
Yeah, I think open-mindedness is one of the sort of personality traits that often goes with introverts. Extroverts are known for having really strong opinions, and in order to have really strong opinions, sometimes that means that you become really closed-minded, and so having people that sort of are that empty vessel that are looking for new things to sort of be poured in is incredibly refreshing. It also means that their output can be a whole lot more creative. They're not sort of stuck in a mental model that they sort of use as a way to identify themselves, which once again in our business is crucial. But the way the world works these days, you have to have creative people on your team in order to get anything new or novel done. And so when it comes to solving problems or a new way to approach work that needs to get done, introverts in leadership positions, especially those types of leadership positions, can be incredibly powerful.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said for being pragmatic, especially in this day and age where, the biggest buzzword is pivot, All right, well, let's be pragmatic. There's no better personality trait than those that have tend more towards the introverted spectrum as far as doing that.
And I think that they do well when it comes to strategic work too, because because they are so thoughtful, they can really sort of hone in on multiple sort of what if scenarios. It's almost like they can think algorithmically, which is incredibly powerful.
Also from a perspective of error correction, accepting feedback, being really deliberate about how they take that feedback and apply that in their work life, is a very unique trait that I love whenever we bring in introverts.
Yeah, they seem to have this like self-reflective mindset, and they want to sort of understand themselves better. I don't think it's like a selfish thing. I think it genuinely is sort of a desire for self-realization or self-actualization, and so they thrive on feedback that is meant to help them improve the way that they perform, and it's vital for their personal development and their professional development. So I think when you have people that sort of view the world that way, that hey, I want feedback, I want to hear how I can improve, I want to correct errors or fix problems, that can be hugely powerful. So.
No, absolutely. And the last thing that we'll talk about today, and I want to hear y'all's thoughts after this, is they're often the most empathetic in the office. They're often the ones who have a lot easier time stepping, the same thing that you just said, stepping outside of themselves and figuring out what things look like from somebody else's perspective, right? And not just being sympathetic and moving on, but really taking a step back and figuring out how decisions impact others, which, if we're talking about from a leadership perspective, is kind of a trait you cannot teach. However long or hard you want to impart that on somebody, we all know that the best leaders that everybody's had in their lifetime are just as good, if not better, listeners than they are talkers, right?
Yeah, and if you are sort of a heavily extroverted leader, you know, because it's sort of a sliding scale. I encourage anybody that is sort of way heavy towards extrovert to build a really good relationship with somebody who is an introvert on your team, because they will tell you where your blind spots are. They will, because they are so empathetic, because they are such sort of a calm beacon in the office, because they are such good listeners. People tell them things that you need to know as a leader that you don't get to hear. And even if you do get to hear them, chances are you're not listening anyway, so it doesn't matter. And so they're a good way to sort of know where your blind spots are, and they'll hold you accountable too if you've got the right relationship. So definitely encourage those sorts of relationships.
I love the exercise of, and most of you guys watching this have kids, so you know what happens when you say, "Hey, I talked to your teacher today," and you just be quiet and let them talk, right? Yeah. There's something to be said for a leader doing that too, and just sitting and just sitting and letting somebody talk. And again, the introverted leaders in your office are the best at that. So. Yeah. So that's our thought process, and why we think there are definitely some big advantages to having introverts, not only on your team, but on your leadership team in general. So stop giving promotions just to the loudest guy in the room. That doesn't always work. So we'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Like, comment, share, as always, especially if we earned it. And until next time, thanks, Pat, and peace, peeps.